Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy viewers. This is Grand Arena, the final match of Week 2, Season 33. Last round we lost to that nightmare Datacron that is on Lord Vader right now, but we are still holding on to Kyber 2. Here's a quick glance at what that match looked like. Going up against Minivin. He could not full clear me. This is the difference the Profundity, even at 4 stars, is making, and my Chimera gave him a good bit of trouble. 2 shots up against Qui-Gon, and the rest of the board was 1 shot, so we're not going to look at it. Today's round is up against Titus. I didn't capture footage of the bracket before it reset. We're recording this a day or two, a couple days after the official end of the round, but Titus here is on the far right column. But it gives you a good overview of what we're dealing with. Pay particular attention to the mod quality. He had the weakest mods of the bracket, and that's going to be a huge difference maker. So the top 500 speed average is only plus 10.6. The top 25 was an average of plus 22. That is pretty weak for Kyber 2. Titus is a 5GL player. He's got 12 Omicrons, but a somewhat shallow roster, somewhat average. Here's a quick glance at his GLs, but we're going to look at that a little bit more in detail with the hotbot information. Deeper into the roster, he's got no Melgus. He's pretty light on the Conquest characters. No Profundity. He's not farmed up with Admiral Radis yet, but he does have Starkiller, but only Relic 4. I guess mine's not faster than that. Not really. He does have Dash, but no Ami. He also doesn't have Maul, and this is just what I was saying. He's not really a Conquest player. At this point, it's been basically a year. You had the time to get Maul. If you're a Kyber 2 player, you had some time. But that is one of the places we're going to have some advantages, is we're going to have a lot more of the Conquest characters. And you can see the speed on his Cat is pretty slow at 289. And his Executor is only 5 stars, so it's going to be an easier Executor to deal with. With the hotbot here, you can see a decent amount of green on my side from the bird's eye view. Zooming in, he's in a really nice guild. His undersizes, though, are low. Not terribly low, though. We've seen worse. Clears are pretty low. I'm kind of surprised this guy's in Kyber 2. It is a 3v3 season, so maybe he does better in Kyber 1. I think part of it might be his defensive strategy, but what you're going to see in this footage is, despite having a massive GL disadvantage, we have some counters. Zetas are fine, but for 5 GLs, that's kind of low. Not terrible. Mods, we have every advantage. Relic distribution is fairly even, not too terrifying. He has a lot of Relic 4s. Somewhat interesting. And his GLs, we've got the speed advantage on JMK and with JML. It's got a very slow JML at 436. No Melgus, no Swolo. We've got speed advantages on basically every character. And there's how the ships are looking. Zooming in to look at his speeds just so you can see how shallow. We're taking a look again at just the top 300 speed characters. And with his roster, that is Hux. Padme is at 289 or something like that. So he's one of the shallowest rosters we've seen with speed. He one-shot that territory. He took 2 shots up against Qui-Gon, 2 shots up against Grievous. The back territory here, he one-shots, but he can't clear ships. He's not deep enough in ships to be able to manage that. And he needed 2 shots to clear the Chimera. Now with his defense is tough though. He's got CLS, Shaak, Nute, JMK, and Crew. And then he's got JML, Lord Vader, Grievous, Qui-Gon, and Starkiller. That's a stout front wall. It's the type of thing that really... We're starting off with Fennec here because I'm making the bet that my Fennec can make enough progress to give me an advantage, but really it's because this guy's mods are so weak that there's a chance my Fennec could work. What I've seen in some previous matches is when I have a mod advantage, sometimes my Fennec squad can beat Lord Vader. And this is a Gear 12 Zam, Gear 12 Grief. It's not super advantageous for me. And against good Lord Vader squads, I don't have a shot. But with this guy's mods, I felt it was worth the gamble, because if it works, then what that means is I have JMK that I can use up against one of those other GLs. Otherwise, if I had to use a JMK to clear Lord Vader, then I don't think I can beat this guy. So it's a gamble worth taking, which determines whether or not I have a shot at winning this thing. So I'm throwing down as many armor shreds as I can. If I had higher relics on my Fennec, I might be able to get away without doing that. But they do help a lot. We're getting close. I'm going to call the assist, because we were in the red and close enough, and we finish it off, and the gamble pays off. Now we're in a great position for the rest of this match. We still have JML to deal with. We have another GL in the top territory, JMK up in the top territory. And we have Starkiller on this board as well. But just starting there, we are in a pretty good place. Now, I do know the results of this match. And we tested some good things here. This is an interesting battle. But when I have these kinds of mod advantages, I get mixed feelings. It's tough to draw big conclusions, because you can see, like, some of these battles maybe I would have lost up against higher quality mods. Okay, so with JML here, I need to counter him. We don't have great mod options, but we do have this one here where every time they evade, we'll get offense up. So we're at least getting a buff. Yoda's going to make sure that is going to be triggered fairly often. The Datacron will be triggered. JKR is going to let us get around the taunt and focus where we need to. And again, I have a pretty massive mod advantage. This JML was like 430, and my JML is not that fast, but mine's at 522 at least. It's notably better, nearly 100 speed better. Calling in Yoda for the speed boost, or the turn meter boost rather. What did I decide? I don't know why I did that. I should have just called Yoda for the assist. We didn't get any turn meter. It doesn't ultimately matter too much. I think what I was thinking was swapping to Yoda would mean we were cycling through the cooldowns faster, but the turn meter to Yoda and then saving that swap for when there was some turn meter that JKR could have had an advantage to would have been useful. So I'm holding off the marked from JKR because I'm waiting for the stealth to come off from Hermit Yoda. Because Hermit Yoda is really annoying. He does make it harder to take out JML. So I just want to keep it. Because after this turn here, Yoda becomes available. The thing is, I could have marked and then used the ultimate from JML and received another mark, but I didn't want to bet on that. Now we can mark Hermit Yoda, take care of him. I'm increasing cooldowns on JML instead of focusing on Yoda just to buy myself some time. I'm probably being overcautious, but that's the thought process. Yoda's gone, now we can auto. And from here, we are down 2 GLs with 1 GL left on the defense, and we have JMK for it. And you can see if Fennec didn't work out, we wouldn't have a solution. I think I would have had to just chosen a territory to clear so we could go off and do testing or whatever. But right now we have Starkiller to go up against. We're going to do a Vader solo. That is my preferred way to handle it, but I think it was either earlier this week or last week where, I think it was the end of last week, where I misplayed this, and there's a nuance here that I didn't realize before. So when we go into Merciless Massacre, do not basic Starkiller. What I had been doing is I would move the abilities around so that I could land ability blocks. But what happened in an earlier round is when I tried doing that on Starkiller, he countered and took out my Vader, and it cost me the match. Just trying to get as many stacks as we can, as soon as we lose Palpatine, that's going to affect our abilities to get cooldowns to get back to I can't believe I can't remember the name of that ability. Alright, we chucked the saber. Cooldowns happen, and we can chuck it again. And there we go. 3 big defenses down. Moving on to these next matches, we've got Qui-Gon here and Grievous. Qui-Gon, though, normally I like to use Jedi Knight Revan to counter him, so I gotta deal with it differently. We are going to do a SWGOH solo. This is something that was... I had it work and not work at Gear 12. And when it did work, it was cleaning up a Grievous team that was a Droideka Grievous situation. I think mods probably come into play a little, but at low relics now, SWGOH is fine taking care of Grievous. My SWGOH is modded for defense. Talked a little bit about it on the Discord of why I approached it that way. There's nothing in his kit that benefits from health. The stacking offense makes me feel like offense isn't necessary. Defense mods will outperform health mods under the road, as long as you're going up a character that doesn't ignore defense. Now Qui-Gon here, I have used Inquisitors up against Qui-Gon a number of times, and it has not worked. But this is another situation where I am betting the mod advantage I have will help me overperform how I normally play. I targeted Mace there because he had 6 stacks of Purge, which means we get more protection up. So with that, a second special from Fifth Brother, you do want to target whoever has the most Purge. Talked about this a few times, but the reason I do 7th Sister and 9th Sister is 9th Sister is not a good tank on her own. She needs support. 7th Sister makes her way better. because you need to be able to heal up, which Ninth Sister can't do on her own. Anakin goes down. And that makes my life so much easier in this round. Because otherwise, things would get up. And this was unfortunate. Like, my opponent didn't set a territory back there. Really kind of hurts this from being one of the more fun matches. It makes for a shorter video. So we're going to do JMK versus JMK. He's got more relics on his JMK, and what I have noticed, and it's going to come up in this video, is going up against slower cats can actually be a little annoying. And it's because of how the damage immunity won't come off. So I'm trying to get through cat as quickly as I can because I know it could happen. So we're getting close. I should have called. I should have attacked. Because now the damage immunity is up, and this is what the situation I was concerned about. So we're just going after Kenobi. A lot of things are kind of working out for me where his focus is being split in multiple directions in a way that's not particularly helpful. But things are going pretty poorly. So we make the progress that we can, but I can't clear it. But this is the reason why I did not use Wampa up against Grievous. It was one we had other solutions for Grievous. But Wampa, I wanted to test out this Datacron, this new Datacron where based on adding dots or inflicting dots, you get extra protection up. Now, I probably would have beat this regardless without the help of this Datacron, but this Datacron is something I'm going to want to test a lot more next week. It makes me wonder if I don't need to do a 1v1 with Wampa. Because I have cleared JMK before with Wampa 1v1 before Datacrons were a thing. But just seeing the functionality though it's promising, and I think it's one of the big things I'm going to want to try out next week is seeing really how far we can push this thing. Like I might just throw in Wampa to start up against maybe JMK, maybe really JMK is probably the only one. It's not going to be Lord Vader. It's not going to be SLKR. I guess technically we could try Rey. There we go. Oh, it's interesting. Now, just thinking through, at this point, I want to test. So I'm thinking through what do we want to test. We've got Hut Cartel, we've got Hondo, we got the droids, and we got Swolo. But CLS we don't want to mess with, so I'm just going to do Starkiller here. Make sure we get through it. I'm really surprised this guy's a Kyber 2 player. You gotta look more at his Grand Arena history. It's interesting to me. I'm looking here over at crew. No, I don't have Jednut Luke. This is, I end up doing JTR Swolo here, and I kind of wonder if I should have used something else. What did I use gas? There's no way I used gas. Yeah. This is when I realized, no, I'm running out of teams to face. I need to start doing some testing. So we shifted JTR Swolo. But I did this last round. So I already knew it was going to work. Technically, this one, I don't even know if it's different or not. I don't remember the exact comp. But I knew this was going to work. This isn't really testing things. It's more just confirming what we determined earlier in the week, and I think even last week. I think going up against, what was it, Nute? That could have been a little bit more interesting. Because this is just spreading things around, keeping the focus on Swolo, because he can't die. They don't really have any AoEs outside of Kylo, so there's no real threat at a lot of harm happening towards JTR or R2. So we just stay focused, do our damage. I'm just remembering now that I wanted to increase relics on him. Or bring him 2 relics. He's gear 12 right now. I didn't do that before the next round. I didn't have a lot of gearing left to do. And when I try and do these gearing videos, I don't want to do one thing. I want to do a couple things at a time, so it's more interesting. And I'm at a point in my roster where I just don't have much else. And we'll be shifting to relics, but right now I'm hoarding all my relic materials for GLs and Afra. I mean, signal data is a pain. I think I should have done JTR Swolo here, because at this point, I would just wanted to get the match done. We could have thrown in like Hut Cartel, but I don't think it would have. I don't know. Django just would have ripped them apart. So I just knew it would really be a loss. Even though I think the Hut Cartel are pretty great. And other than Chrysanthemum, like Boushh and Skiff Lando are easy to gear. Their characters worth making sure you have at a usable level. Because we're going to do them right now and you'll see what they can do. Like, this is a weak squad. And Shaak T's still respectable. Like, you can't bring nonsense up against Shaak. Yeah, and there we go. Now moving on to fleets. Now again, he has a 5-star executor. Things are not going to go super smooth to start because he's going to be slower than me, which is not ideal. It makes it a little bit harder to deal with. So because his Razor Crest didn't go first, I played a little differently. I go with basics because otherwise I can lose. The rest we play somewhat similarly. We get a buff immunity to land, which was good RNG that allows us to be a little focused, do a little bit more damage than we otherwise would. We got Mark now on the Razor Crest so we can do our work. We got our mass assist and we take it out. So pay attention to the buffs on Slave 1. The reason I didn't target it is because I wouldn't have landed target lock or breach, which would mean we wouldn't be making progress towards our payout or our ultimate abilities. So we stay focused on Houndstooth. Because otherwise, like, if you're in those situations where you're wondering why, even though you had the advantages, how come the enemy executor got off the ultimate first? It's because of targeting ships with those buffs that prevent landing those debuffs, which means you're not affecting the cooldowns on your own. It's one of the adjustments I made to my play, I don't know, the past several months. Because it doesn't really affect a lot of matches, but it does help in a fringe capacity. Like, it probably wouldn't have mattered in that match. And that's why you don't put Clone Sergeant in your reinforcements. I just don't do it. I put Clone Sergeant with my Holdo, with my Radis capital ship. Because usually, because I don't have a GL Ray, my MG100 gets taken out pretty easily. So Clone Sergeant coming out being a backup tank usually has been pretty beneficial. So it's come up a number of times. So things are getting a little wonky, but all the troublesome ships are gone. Pull out another Geo ship. All of our starters are gone too. And there we go. Now for the last ship, and this is it's pretty good fleet defense. Like, I'm a little worried. I was legitimately worried about it. But I already had the banner advantage, so I had already won the match. But I have no faith in the RavensClaw for beating this thing. Like, I've made my feelings about this fleet known. It's just not ready. Now with here, bring out the Phantom. Still haven't taken out anything yet. And things are looking bad. I'm just trying to weaken the ships that I can. Maybe mess up cooldowns. And he does have Sith Eternal Emperor, so these are relic pilots. But we at least got rid of protection on the TIE Bomber, if that's something. But now we're dealing with fleets now where I don't have relic pilots for the most part. Like, I have a single relic First Order character, and that's Kylo. We can't get colony assists because everyone has days, so I'm just... Did I call for the protection up? I debated it in my head for a bit. That's what I'm doing right now. Do I go with the basic, throw down Hunted, and it's a bad start. A real bad start. Now, Silencer does not have... I landed target lock. I think there's some synergy with the TIE Echelon where I wanted to land target locks to take advantage. It didn't even come into play, I don't think. But that's why... And I brought out that TIE Fighter. Normally I don't. Normally I bring out the other one because it can call an assist. The only one without days is the other TIE Fighter. With a relic crew, like, I don't know if I need much more than just like a relic crew. I think it would make a big difference. Now, the fleet is weak, but we made a lot of progress. Like, I'm surprised my Silencer is taking out this many ships at Gear 12. Like, I'm pretty impressed with how it performed. And this is a pretty nice win. Like, yeah, my opponent didn't set down a back wall for his squads. But that was a stout front wall for me to have to deal with. And I'm pretty happy about that. Going up against 3 GLs plus Starkiller with what I had to deal with, I needed luck. Like, without some of the RNG, I wouldn't have won. And without the mod advantages, I wouldn't have won. Like, mods were the difference in this match. We will wrap it up there. It is Thanksgiving, the best holiday. So have a good one, everyone. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there and be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.